Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to the Trumbull Public Schools Board of Education budget meeting of Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, 6:30 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is Norcell correspondence.
Yes, we do have emails. Elaine Durbano, Chris Chase, and Shannon Diaz all support the reopening of our schools, especially with the K-5 students. These three parents believe that our youngest learners do best in school, and they thank Dr. Simmel for putting a premium on children's academic and emotional success with in-person learning. Frank Scuchamaro, Jonathan Disney, Janelle Zolpipi, Christine Sacacone, Shannon Diaz, and Akina Friend all want to thank Dr. Simmel for his transparent budget process. They appreciate that he is proposing to add back many line items that were cut last year. Melissa came to Trumbull, she said, because she considered Trumbull an outstanding school system. She wonders and questions now if Trumbull will be able to rebuild, or should she consider moving. Mary Harrow wants all positions that were cut last year to be restored in this new budget. Ark and Friend supports that and wants us to know that crowding at Booth Hill continues into next year with no art or music rooms. Erin Morelli wants to thank the teacher and support staff for the hard work that has continued. When this virus is gone, she would like to see both Zoom and Trumbull TV stay to broadcast Board of Ed meetings. That is all our correspondence this week.
Thank you very much. We're on to public comment. Our first speaker is Kat Lammy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kat Lammy. I live at 47 Fawn Meadow Drive, and I am a member of the Trumbull PTSA Council. I'm reading a statement tonight on behalf of the PTSA Council and the following PTA units: Booth Hill, Daniels Farm, Frenchtown, Jane Ryan, Middlebrook, Tashua, Madison, and Trumbull High. We as a collective group support the proposed budget presented last week by the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Simmel. We thank Dr. Simmel for a transparent, clear, and concise presentation of this budget. The budget restores critical personnel who offer services that support the long-term academic outcomes of students. It also adds personnel that will make district-wide operations more efficient. We see it as a budget that will strengthen our entire school district and urge the Board of Education to approve it as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jen Record.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to express my gratitude to the entire staff of the Trumbull school system. My husband and I have been impressed by the dedication, the energy, and the enthusiasm of our teachers. They have worked tirelessly to support our children. On the rare occasion I get to hear part of the Google Meet, I can hear their enthusiasm, their positive encouragement of our children. They frequently communicate with emails. I always feel as a parent that I know what's going on in my children's classrooms. They've left work, hard copies of books and worksheets for our children in the lobby. They've taken the extra time to organize those materials so that our children have the tangible items they need at home. The librarian weekly leaves books for my son. The rest of the staff has been just as supportive. The school psychologists who reach out with social emotional activities, coping strategies, the principals who email every single week with schedules and updates. It's so nice to have so much information in one spot. It's been a real team effort. We're grateful for all that everyone in the school system's doing. I want to encourage the Board of Ed tonight to support the superintendent's proposed budget for next year. I want to specifically address the personnel portion of the budget and the request for additional staff. Never has it been more important to add additional staff to support our students and our faculties. Any teacher, myself included, will tell you how important small class sizes are, how critical they are to the success for every student. It gives them the opportunity to individually and independently thrive and grow. Keeping class sizes small, under 20 students in the elementary schools and under 25 in the middle and high school, that makes a huge difference in every student being heard every day, being able to interact with their teachers and with their peers. I saw requests for additional school psychologists. We need them, lots of them now more than ever. We need those literacy coaches, the math specialists who work with students one-on-one. Those kids need personalized instruction from certified, trained staff, especially in the elementary schools where their enthusiasm for learning is growing, and we need to nurture those foundational skills and opportunities to grow. Please support a budget that keeps our class sizes small and that funds a full supportive staff so that all of our children can succeed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is our superintendent report.
Great, thanks. I appreciate that, coming here from my home today, as I've been feeling a little bit under the weather. So I'm keeping myself from being exposing myself to other people. First, I do want to echo what Ms. Record just said. I mean, our teachers and all the other staff that go into every school are just doing incredible work. They, from my perspective, they're absolutely heroes, and just like healthcare workers, they should be seen as heroes of this particular pandemic. Certainly not an easy thing to be dealing with, and certainly we don't always see everything eye to eye, but our teachers and our support staff have been doing incredible work. I do want to address an issue that came up on Thursday as well at our last board meeting. The teachers union had shared some concerns about continued Google bombing. And Google bombing, as a reminder, is where someone not associated with the class enters and does or says something offensive. I can report to you tonight that there were a handful of incidents that occurred at the high school, especially around November 20th. I would like to assure everyone that all the cases that have been brought to the administration's attention have been investigated by the Trumbull Police Department, the school administration, or both. It should also be noted that we did provide training to all staff beginning in September that taught teachers how to use Google Teacher Controls. These controls allow a teacher to control who enters their Google Classroom. And it should be further noted that when the high school faced these additional issues around November 20th, staff were provided with the opportunity to receive additional training on these controls. Today, I did share a note with all staff and addressed the Google bombings as part of that email. I suggested that any teacher who would like additional support in this area may connect with their building principal or tech integration specialists. We believe the steps that we have taken as a district should eliminate these Google bombings completely if these controls are used by all teachers. Also, a few parents have shared some concerns with me about some messages they were receiving from teachers that I wanted to address. Specifically, I received a few emails about statements where teachers were saying that windows were going to be left wide open. I connected with our teachers also on this topic as well today. We have been told that windows should be cracked open and classroom doors should remain open to create the negative pressure needed to increase circulation. Furthermore, I reminded staff that the #1 mitigation strategy continues to be the use of masks. While I do suggest that students dress warmly over the coming weeks, we should not expect windows to be wide open. My assumption is I just needed to reiterate what the expectation was, because perhaps I had not done a clear enough job making that clear in the first place. So windows will be only cracked, but doors will need to be open so that the air can continue to go through. And that at this time is the end of my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is the board chair report. Nothing's happened since the last I spoke to you, so I'm going to pass on that, and we're going to go right to the Student Board of Ed reps report. Jack or Gabby?
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. It's great to see you all. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Gabby Biondi, and I'm a senior at Trumbull High School. Trumbull High School had a great Spirit Week. Despite a total digital learning week, Trumbull High students and faculty did not disappoint. There was a great turnout for those who participated, and there were several students who were rewarded for their creativity of costume in the Spirit Week contest. The Trumbull High School Student Council is organizing our annual Salvation Army Toy Drive. This year, Trumbull High School is sponsoring 25 children. Toys have been donated by the entire school community and will be picked up on Friday, just in time for the holiday season. Similarly, the Trumbull High School PTSA is holding a Krispy Kreme fundraiser for the senior class. It is $10 for a dozen donuts. Further information about purchasing can be found on Trumbull High School's PTSA website. All purchases must be made by December 10th. Myself, along with the entire senior class, appreciates the support of the PTSA and the Trumbull community. Lastly, school-wide, Trumbull High School has created the Gratitude Challenge, which was spearheaded by Mr. Manuel and Mr. Guarino, as well as the administration. The Gratitude Challenge is a way for students in our school community who are a part of an activity, club, or team at Trumbull High to express what they are thankful for. Members of the group must create a video that highlights each individual member and what they are thankful for. Then they must challenge another group. Thank you to the staff, faculty, and the administration for creating a safe and uplifting environment despite these unprecedented times. We must stay positive and stay together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gabby. Is Jack here and would he like to speak?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all once again today. I would like to begin by saying that despite everything going on, Trumbull High School student population is still going strong, and we are continuing to move forward in our pursuit of a safe environment to learn and grow together, whether it be from home or in person. In this time of uncertainty, Trumbull has done an excellent job of ensuring the safety of all students, and I would like to say thank you on behalf of everyone. It is assuring to know that our safety is a priority, and that no matter what happens, we will still be given the opportunity to learn and have a stable education. I would also like to bring up something exciting that began just recently. Trumbull High School Spring Musical held virtual auditions over the span of last week, and I feel it is necessary to convey our gratitude as a community. After last year's process ending so abruptly, it is refreshing to be able to begin the journey knowing that we are able to do so in a way that is safe for everyone. Further, we are excited to begin rehearsing and putting together a performance for everyone to enjoy. Apart from this, I do not have much else to comment on. Since the last meeting, nothing much has changed in regards to the positivity students are feeling towards the current system of education in place. I feel wholeheartedly that our school's community is doing the best that we can, and there's not much else that we could ask for as students. I would like to thank you for your time tonight and wish everyone happy holidays, as that is just around the corner. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair.
We're moving on to number 3, reports and action items. This is
Madam Chair, before we move on, could I?
Excuse me, 1 second, please.
Okay.
All right, this is the reports and action items, the continuation of the 2021 budget presentation and discussion. It will be Dr. Semmel and Mr. Hendrickson. They will begin that. And before we start that, what is it, Mr. Speaker?
Madam Chair, I wanted to make a motion to add an agenda item to the other category at the end of the meeting.
Oh, certainly. You want to do it right now?
Yeah,
We could do it down to other if you want.
Say again.
We could do it when we get down to other if you want, or you want to do it right now.
Yeah, I just thought we should do it now so people know it's on the agenda.
Yes.
All right, go right ahead.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to add an item to the agenda to discuss and potentially take action on the 5-year capital plan.
Jackie Norcell seconds it.
Okay, Jackie seconds it. Okay, let's take a vote that we want to put it on. Tim?
I'm in favor.
Marie? Yes. Mike Ward?
Yes, in favor.
Jackie?
Yes, in favor.
Scott?
Yes, in favor.
Andy?
In favor.
And Lucinda in favor. Okay, we will do that when we get to the end. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Dr. Semmel and Mr. Hendrickson. as we continue with the budget presentation.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. We're excited to continue our process that we began this past Thursday. Just as a reminder, last Thursday, we shared some of the overarching parts of the budget, and then we started getting into more specifics of the budget requests and different areas. And we went all the way through to the middle schools. As a reminder, our budget is $113,321,745. It's a 3.94% increase. And unfortunately, I can't see necessarily if you're seeing the PowerPoint in front of you or what people are seeing at home, but that's, oh, now I see what you're seeing. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. So you see the pie chart that we shared last time showing the $113 million request. And if you go to the next slide, Michelle, for one moment. On the next slide, you'll see that it's a $4.295 million increase. And like I said, it was a 3.94% increase. And this was the slide where we showed the major budget drivers. So we're not going to rehash this all tonight. I just wanted to kind of use that as a way to get started. I appreciated the comments from some of the folks who were saying that we're doing a very good job with transparency. That was part of the overall goal, is to make sure we made it very clear about what we were requesting and why and how it impacted the overall school system. And certainly we'll continue to try to do our best in making things transparent as we go through the process. So Michelle, if you could move us towards the end of the presentation where we get to the high school. So I know we have some folks in the hall with you. I believe Mr. Guarino is with you tonight. And when we talk about athletics, we have Mr. King who's at home tonight. So we're going to ask that Mr. Guarino share his overview of the Trumbull High School budget.
Thank you, Dr. Semmel, and thank you for having both Mr. Manuel and I here tonight to at least present and talk through a little bit about the Trumbull High School budget, and Mr. King will be joining us shortly. As you can see on the summary page, overall year to year, Trumbull High School budget is up 1.8%, which is almost $12,000. And some of the drivers that are there in terms of those things that are contributing to the change are listed below in terms of textbooks and our activities. And I'd like to just say a few things about that. I appreciate Dr. Semmel's support to reinstate purchasing for some library textbooks that were put on hold for this year. Mr. Manuel has worked with Mr. Feligra and our media center to really identify those sources and materials, and work with teachers for us to purchase roughly about 350 books, and also gain access to some digital text that students can use and have access to for the upcoming year. So we're appreciative of that. And that $7,000 is reflective, kind of where our spending has been over time. So that's going to be a bonus for us. One of the things that we needed to just address this year in this particular budget. So thank you for that. And also the restoration of the funding for our activities. Dr. Semmel, when he first came on board, we had a conversation about our budget challenges this year. And I think our community was cognizant of really providing our students opportunities, especially in the unique circumstances we're in this year. That $92,000 that's in our budget for this year, although it's lower than we had anticipated, it's much larger than we had originally thought through with some of the processes from last year. So with that, we were able to prioritize for this year to best utilize that money with Mr. Henderson's support, be able to even offer more clubs and activities. But clearly the $92,000 is not reflective of all the clubs and activities that are cultural experiences for our students. They are the advisors who advise each one of the classes and some of the other groups that are out there that provide kids connections to school. So that $115,000 that is being presented in front of you this evening would allow us to be back on track to really have all the clubs and activities. And if there's some new clubs that students and faculty have ideas that they want to present, and some others that don't have enrollment, it allows us that flexibility to be able to provide those opportunities for our students. There's also an increase in the academic competitions. And of course, this year, our academic competitions are definitely impacted because of the pandemic. But as we look to open our doors next year and really encourage all of our competitive groups to be able to utilize that money that the board has so graciously given them to support their academic pursuits, every dollar that is spent for students is meaningful for them, and it's really an extension of what they do in the classroom and enhancement. So that increase is there. And some of the other line items that are out there that maybe are driving down a little bit in terms of our world language supplies and technical education supplies and our special projects. Those are line items that we feel in terms of the purchasing that we've done, especially in the area of world language and supplies, how we've kind of, from a building level, have really pulled and purchased from the building level than the individual department level. And some of the workbooks and texts and some of those items that might have been purchased under that particular line item are now included in the online subscriptions that we have with the textbook. So we can realize some cost savings in world languages and with tech ed, which is somewhat interesting because we've added an FTE last year, but some of the courses that we're offering that are new have a lower cost in terms of operation. Some of the metals and wood that are used to support those classes. So we believe that $14,000 is appropriate for what we're forecasting for next year. And then that last line item there for special projects, really the fire safe cabinets that we're purchasing that came out of last MES visit. And we're pretty much on track year to year for that. And I think that, we'll be able to continue to meet that expectation as we've been building that over the past several budget cycles. So those are the main drivers there in terms of that $11,000 difference year to year. The last component there is a staffing change, and that staffing is about our buildings and our school's responsibility to make sure that we are meeting the state expectation with the wellness requirements that are part of the graduation requirements. Students need to earn a 1.0 credit in health as part of their experience. And right now, our current sophomore class and their juniors next year will need to incorporate grade 11 health. And we'll do a very similar model that we've done in the past as we wrap around that experience around their science labs and offer that to them. It takes about 24 sections to be able to accommodate the students at a particular grade level based on our schedule. And with that additional FTE, we'll be able to provide that experience for our kids. And that's really an extension of the Board of Education's support of wellness education over the years. And I think it's something we can be really proud of. So that additional FTE is requested to meet that graduation requirement for next year's junior class and every class thereafter. So in terms of an overview, that's what I wanted to share with the board this evening. If you have any questions, Mr. Manuel's here with a lot of details of all the different accounts. If you have any questions on that.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
We see reduction of a 1.0 FTE.
Yes.
I'm just going to give you my opinion. I think if you're looking at the departments, it shouldn't be a 1.0 in any department. It should be a 0.2 or a 0.6, wherever it is.
Okay.
Because they can absorb that. This way, no one loses their position.
Sure.
Okay.
And absolutely, I think that's a great point to make. I think it's where we stand, whether we're having our initial conversations here at the district level or at a presentation at this point. It's really about the requests that are out there, and it would be really too premature at this point to be able to do that. And we really want to be critical, making sure that we provide our students every opportunity to have elective courses to meet their core requirements. So I appreciate that, and we'll make sure that we have that mindset going into decisions we have to make later in this school.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Garino?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
It's Scott. Again, not so much a question, but a comment. I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Greeno, and full-heartedly support your restoration of the activities funds. I was concerned at the beginning of this year when we had to cancel some clubs. And while my kids took advantage of some of the larger activities at the high school, like volleyball and marching band, I think it's just critical that as a comprehensive high school, we offer every possible opportunity for kids to engage with the community. So thank you very much for that.
So you're fine with that, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, is Mr. King ready?
Well, Mr. King is with us. If I'll turn it over to him to lead us through his presentation.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. So the athletic department at the high school level fields 56 teams across 29 different sports. We typically have almost 1,100 athletes, fill close to 1,600 roster spots or so, which means that about a third of our athletes are multi-sport athletes. And I'm glad to say that prior to the pandemic, our participation numbers were steadily rising, indicating that interest in various programs was growing. Also glad to report that our programs have had tremendous amount of success. For example, most recently this fall, most of our teams really just kind of dominated the FCIAC East with our boys and girls cross country, field hockey, girls soccer, girls swim and dive, and volleyball teams all winning FCIAC East championships. The season was highlighted by our field hockey team having almost a perfect season. They went 12-0 and only gave up 1 goal the entire season. Along with our girls cross country team qualifying for the Nike Nationals. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the girls were not able to travel out to Oregon. Were able to compete virtually and finished 16th. None of this would be possible without the support of the superintendent and the board, so thank you. Hopefully before long, we'll be sitting together again, watching and supporting our teams. The page that you see in front of you is pretty straightforward and simple. As many of you probably recall, last year's budget, we had fairly significant hits in the coaches category and the transportation category. And this budget reallocates money back into those areas with deductions from mainly our equipment account and a little bit in our supplies. So it's really just shuffling money around. The budget is fairly similar other than that.
Okay, does anyone have a question for Mr. King?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Mr. Palo. Just a question for you, actually. Is Mr. King going to be still sticking around when we get to the capital plan discussion? I mean, I'm not sure, because I had some questions, and I mean, he's the expert.
You can ask him the question now.
You don't mind? It's got to do with the capital plan, not the budget.
Well, that's all right, but it has to do with athletics?
Yes.
Good, ask him.
So there's in here a 1.1 million allocation for Wellness Fitness Center in the capital plan for fiscal year 22. And I was just wondering if you could give your opinion about, I know I have an idea of what needs to be done there at the high school, but I wanted to hear from you what you think needs to be done in terms of to bring Trumbull High athletics in par with other schools for a wellness center.
Yeah, well, I think you hit on it, Mr. Palo. Our fitness center right now, our weight room, is inadequate in size and equipment. It's just, it doesn't compare to what many of the other schools in our league and area have. And unfortunately, we don't have adequate space to expand it. So I think what we need to do is create space and equip it so that we can meet the needs of all of our athletes and the band members and the PE classes and anybody else who may want to use the fitness center.
I am in agreement with you on that. I think it is sorely necessary that that needs to be done, but I thank you for your comments.
Of course. And if you want me to stick around, I have no problem doing so.
Okay, anyone else? I'd like to ask Mr. Manuel if he has any comments he would like to make.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak for the board tonight. I just think I would echo everything that's been said. I think we've done a very nice job of including all of our stakeholders in the appropriate conversations and put forth a budget to central office with Dr. Semmel and Mr. Henderson that we're very proud of. And that, I think you see the representation of those numbers in front of you. We're trying to be transparent through this process as well. So along the way, if there are questions from Mr. Greeno or myself, we're happy to answer. So thank you all.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Guarino or Mr. Manuel? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Okay, next on our agenda, could you make sure that the next people come in? Okay, it's the PBS Department and Tech Act. It's Dr. Tammy Hartman and Dr. Matthew Wheeler. Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. Better?
Just come closer to it.
Okay. So we've really worked very hard to ensure that we're presenting a budget tonight that's fiscally responsible and well thought out. The special education budget is developed with legal requirements, processes, and procedures in mind that we need to be thought of as we work to support our students. As you noticed, we are working to bring students back in district. So that has decreased our outplacement line. That is probably one of my bigger highlights, and we're working on that. I will go through some of the higher items in case there's any questions. As far as the out-district placements, I think it is important to recognize that there is a standard 3% increase for all out-of-district placements for districts across the state. That's just a standard operating procedure. In addition, this year, I can't speak to past years, but for the sake of transparency, we also included an estimated $550,000 for settlement costs. Oftentimes, we do work to go to settlement as opposed to through the full due process and procedures because it tends to save districts money. In addition, our consultant lines, which is often needed due to outside evaluations, such as independent educator evaluations. This budget item was increased slightly due to anxiety is the #1 childhood and adolescent diagnoses. We have increased psychiatric evaluations, things of that nature. So that budget line should encapsulate what would be needed for the 21-22 school year. Our professional development line, PPS did not have a budgeted line for the 2021 school year. So I believe the 30,000 would be reflected. Professional development that is really necessary to ensure updated practices by all related service, such as evaluations with psychologists, teaching anthropologists, best practices of teaching, etc. Our extended school year services, that budget item is remaining the same. We would anticipate the same cost there. Our professional services that we have, that is also remaining the same. Those purchase services or contracts. We have students such as those with spina bifida that might need a nurse's aid, things of that nature. So we try to make sure that we identify all the students of need. I do work closely with my counterpart at TechEd to watch for the children coming through Berkeley 3 as well as up through the TechEd program so that we can responsibly plan for all the students. Testing materials, there is a slight bump there. What happens is companies like Pearson and other vendors, they will come out with updated tests. We have 1 year in which to remove the older editions and versions, and we have to bring in the newer editions or versions. Otherwise, we could be cited for not using the correct instruments. So that is a requirement for us to follow, and we do have new instruments coming out. Our paraprofessional extra time, there is a small decrease there. I am hoping through looking at the current practices and looking at where we're moving forward, that can actually be decreased more. I can't predict it. I'm only a few weeks into the job, and I just wanted to be responsible with that decision making. I do know that we will need after-school paraprofessional time for students who may need assistance or things of that nature. I do believe I can bring that down. I didn't dare bring it down much more than that at this time. And then our legal fees, that is a decrease as well. I am planning on about $150K for that item. And that would be my budget for 21-22.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Hartman?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, Mrs. Hartman, I'm seeing at the top here that this excludes the PPS transportation, and I'm wondering why. I do believe that is included. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a reason why that?
My understanding is it is not included in the PPS budget. The Transportation Department handles that separately, and it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that that has always been held separately. And I'm fairly certain of that because even when it comes to excess cost, that is figured separately from what our office does. So the special education transportation is handled elsewhere.
And so you wouldn't have a number on that then?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring that.
And do you know where that elsewhere might be?
It's specifically in the transportation budget line item.
Okay, thank you.
And
Well,
that is in the box.
So I'm glad to see that we're working to bring our students back. So for transparent, that amount of outplaced students tuition, approximately about how many students we're covering?
Currently,
The exact number, but just so people know.
sure. Currently, we have brought back 2 students. We are working to continue to increase the rigor of our programs, and you are probably more aware than I am. We did increase one special resource program. Those are students, many of whom would be outplaced had we not had that program. In addition, I do want to give a shout out to Debbie McGrath as well with the alternative programs that she runs. She does an absolutely amazing job. One of our students that was outplaced will be joining that program. So we're really working at honing in our resources and our supports that we have here in district so that we're able to do that.
Does anyone else have a question for Mrs. Hartman?
Yes, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
to follow up with the what Mrs. Petiti said, there's 44 students in the budget right now that are out of district. Have you had an opportunity to review each of these cases to predict those who be leaving and those who be staying by chance?
I am slowly going through each of those, and I do say slowly because I think it is a methodical process in order to truly understand the history of the child. It's also important to understand where the parent is at, where the parent's trust level with the district, and working on those relationships and building that trust. As you had mentioned, there are 44 students, and as the situations come my way, I am taking that information in. I also want to give a shout out to Barbara Beeman, who has been working very closely with me, keeping me up to date and current with the information, and also working very strongly alongside the parents and staff, so that, again, we can build that trusting relationship. We can talk about the resources that we have in district, so we can plan appropriately and fiscally responsibly.
Thank you.
Thank you. One other question. How, because of the March to June of last year, and of course, again, September, do you have a good handle on those cases which we got postponed, any type of testing, new IEPs? Have you had a chance to take a look at that very carefully?
Yes, we have looked at that very carefully. We are predominantly up to date with our testing and our cases, and We did contract with 3 outside psychologists to help us with that updated testing, as well as we've had some academic assessments done by outside providers. Those outside evaluations are being covered through the COVID relief funds, so that should not be an extra burden to the district. So again, we're working to be responsible, but ensuring that we're meeting the needs of students.
So I guess the parents of concern, I guess we were able to address that very nicely. And I thank you very much for all the hard work you put into. You came into a situation which regular ed teachers have their work, but you have your work also. And I want to thank you very much.
Anyone else with a question for Mrs. Hartman?
I just would like to echo what Mike said. I would like to thank you also for a very clear, transparent report. This seems to be the theme tonight, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Anyone else for Mrs. Hartman? No? Because if not, then I'm going to go to Mr. Wheeler for Tech Act.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, just stay close to the mic.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We saved the smallest budget for the smallest children with the school with the most heart, I must say. So thank you for listening. Evening. I must start out with thanking all the teachers. I had the opportunity to visit the elementary schools, and I've seen all the hard work that they're doing, and also Tech Act as well. If we think it's putting together a budget this year is very difficult, trying to keep children 3, 4, and 5 years old, about half with disabilities, engaged on screen, at home. We think about nearly impossible tasks they've done with valor, and certainly should be commended for their efforts. When I say teachers, I'm including our occupational, physical therapists, speech pathologists, paraeducators, behaviorists, everybody's involved with every child. So they've been doing a wonderful job. I know Mr. Kerr had an opportunity to visit about a month ago or so, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, our Head Start program to see some of our distance learning, remote learning going on, and seeing the children in the building. I'm sure he could certainly give the same feedback. So it's been amazing what our teachers have been doing, and they're going to continue to do so. Most of them feel being in person is the right thing to do, and they're there working. When I say day and night, you can see the stress on their faces and how much planning and time that goes into making sure children get what they really need. So it's not just Tech Act; it's all the way through high school until 20 years old. So I want to commend everybody. So my budget, really a summary sheet where there's a decrease this year, and that can be explained in many different ways. I do have some grant funds to do cover classroom supplies through Head Start, and also Dr. Hartman, I'm sure, will be sharing some of her funds as well. And Marty Simmel is certainly supportive of our program. Had some other small decreases. I truly believe that we can meet all the children's needs. We'll certainly be able to do so. The most important thing here is that we're going to face challenges, but nothing compared to what our children face every day. So we can certainly, do what we need to do for the children with the budget that's being proposed. And the most important part at the bottom here, see here, is the staffing changes. There are none proposed at this time. And I can deal without Play-Doh, pens, paper, but I can't without people. So people is the most important part of our budget.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for?
Yeah, yes. For Lucinda, Jackie Norcell. Matt, how many children will be leaving this June and needing to go into an autistic program in the elementary schools?
Right now I projected 9 students, and that may change. It depends if we have more children move in, but right now it's 9 children that we have projected going forward doing SRP services.
Have you looked at with Dr. Zimmel what elementary school to place them in?
Right, we're discussing that right now. Which program right now we have? Frenchtown, which you're very familiar with.
Yes.
We have children at Middlebrook School, and
Middlebrook, yes.
Dr. Hartman and also Lee Westberg, the department chair. It looks like we'll be able to have the children go to split between both schools. And I'm not at this time. I can't say we need another classroom now, but it doesn't appear to be so at this moment. Is that correct?
Okay. Well, when I saw no staffing, I knew that was for Tech Act, but we looked at district numbers already, and there was no need only for a teacher at Frenchtown. So I was wondering if that was related to, autistic class, so then it isn't. Okay, thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with a question for either Dr. Wheeler or Dr. Hartman? No? Okay, thank you both for coming and presenting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next person to present is our facilities department, Mr. John Morella. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. So Paul and I put this budget together along with Mr. Irwin, and you can see that we have some line items here that have increased and some that have decreased. Utilities have actually gone up. Custodial maintenance has definitely dropped. Our repairs and services have also dropped. Under equipment, there's a significant increase in equipment. There's some custodial equipment that we'd like to purchase this year, which is different floor scrubbers, ride-on machines, wet dry vacs. And we get some mowers and equipment for our outside crew. The gas and diesel dropped a little bit. Improvements to site, that also significantly rose. That's due to some asbestos abatement we'd like to accomplish. Various doors throughout the system that have to be replaced. We're going to install additional generator panels, some of the elementary schools to protect kitchen equipment. HVAC equipment also went up. We have additional filter changes that are now required, as well as some VFD replacements for some of the rooftop units at Trumbull High that are definitely in need of replacement. Vehicles, I know this is a question here. Since I've been here for 6 years, we have not gotten any new vehicles. So all the tradesmen, they drive the vehicles, they take them home, and we also plow with those vehicles. Whenever we get a vehicle, while I've been here, it's always been donated off the scrap heap from Aquarium. And at that point, they already have about 120,000 miles. So since I've been here, we have not purchased one new vehicle. So I know I've heard in the past, it just keeps getting pushed to next year, but last year we lucked out because there was really no snow removal, but if we do have any significant snow this year, we will certainly have a problem in clearing it. Anybody has any questions about any of those items?
Okay. Okay, anyone with a question for Mr. Morella?
Just Jackie Norcell, what kind of vehicles do you plan to buy, John?
They're the normal, they're utility bodies, Jackie. That we have the plumber, the electrician, the HVAC.
Okay, so they'll be like those that there are, but a new one.
Correct, newer versions.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
as far as vehicles, my understanding, we lease, we don't buy them anymore. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't know that I can't.
I think it's, yeah, I think we leased it. I think a couple of years ago, we decided no longer purchasing things, we lease them.
I know that they did buy one a few years ago.
Yes.
But I don't know what happened to that one. Mr. Hendrickson will look into that for you.
Yeah. But Madam Chairman, John, the culvert, are we incorporating some cost into this budget that you're presenting? Is that separate?
That's separate.
All right, so this is just regular maintenance and things for the schools as they function right now.
Yes,
Right, it's regular operation.
Yes, sir.
Regular operation, okay. They're doing a nice job, all the guys and gals.
Tim Gallo.
So John, how are you able to save money for the custodian and the maintenance from 2021 to 21, 22? Is that these COVID related costs? Are we thinking that we're not going to need certain things next year, or how did you save money there?
Well, we tried to forecast that we're going to have a full staff now, so we have been filling holes, so to speak, throughout our custodial staff over the past 3 or 4 months. So as opposed to the overtime, we'll have regular shifts. That's where a chunk of that will savings will come from. Overtime. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else with a question for Mr. Morel?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
It's Scott. I just wanted to note, and this was actually one of the questions that I had sent in advance, and Mr. Hendrickson answered to a point related to that. It seems like there are some building improvements, like replacing some HVAC and cooling towers and asbestos mitigation in a line in the budget called project lease payments. And I would just recommend that those get moved to, I don't know whether it's improvements to site or building improvements, but that they be broken out separately.
I don't see those. Are they here for? They're not in this budget right now. Are they in the capital?
They're not on this screen. No, they were in the.
So they're in the capital plan?
No.
Wait, Mr. Hendrickson's going to speak.
It was in one of Scott's emails to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anyone else with a question for Mr. Morel?
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
So the biggest part of this 651,000 is the payment due to Bank of America, correct? That's the biggest piece of it? I'm seeing here 424,000.
I'm not seeing this on this sheet. What are you speaking?
It's in the narrative on page 612, 6-12.
Oh, in the book.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer them?
That's correct. I compiled that figure myself.
Okay, and excuse my ignorance, but what is a cooling tower?
That's for your air conditioning system.
Oh.
There's a cooling tower at Frenchtown, there's a cooling tower at Trumbull High.
Now, could that be part of the capital plan or no?
Yes, it is actually in the capital.
It's not part of the 651,000?
No.
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 It is listed there in this book.
Isn't it, Scott, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is a cooling tower listed.
For 70,000.
Right.
It's
This is
it
on
says on that page, HVAC
single-
all schools is 110, cooling
Yes.
tower, Frenchtown and THS is 70, and there's asbestos mitigation for 18. That's on page 6.
Correct, correct.
Right.
And what was your question?
So should that be there, or is that part of the capital plan? Or is that part of the 651,000?
Well,
It's not.
The cooling tower?
It is not in the capital plan.
It's not in the, should it be in the capital plan?
That's general maintenance, isn't it?
Yeah. If I'm recalling some of the conversations from the facilities committee, like these are a couple of units that, you know, have been failing. Are these the ones on Frenchtown, or that's in the capital plan, John?
In the capital plan, there is Frenchtown and Trumbull High School towers.
Right. But there were some that that needed to be either maintained or replaced. We were talking about repairing them, and then it was recommended that we just replace them and that we do both of them. So we might have to look more closely at that and make sure we just don't have it duplicated. But I think that there were some things that we thought were maintenance and should be in the regular budget as opposed to a capital.
John and I will review this tomorrow and get back to you.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else with a question? John, you're going to be around for the capital plan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No one else with a question? We're going to move on.
Just a comment. I just like to make a comment that I just want to say thank you for John Morello for all the work that he is doing. He's taking on a lot of responsibilities given the circumstances. And now here's a guy who probably was up at 4 a.m. this morning, if not earlier, to get the day started, and now he's here tonight. presenting his budget. So my hat really goes off to John and everything he's done during this particular school year. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. And that is so true. We all know that. Thank you.
Appreciate it. The board is very appreciative. I appreciate it. Everybody in this room is really helping Paul, Dr. Semmel, including Mr. Irwin, who's not here, but he was a huge help to me all summer and up to last week. So he's very helpful.
Thank you.
John's got big shoulders.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Mrs. Perkins, Transportation. Yes, just get closer to it so we can hear you, the mic. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. First, let me begin by saying that, as always, the safety and wellness of our children is the top priority in transportation efforts. All the time, and especially this year with the pandemic, keeping children safe. We continue to strive to provide the safest and most reliable transportation system that we can, and to do so in a cost-efficient way. The majority of the transportation budget is based on contractual costs. This budget will encompass the fourth year of a 5-year contract with our transportation provider, School Services. Original contract was awarded in 2018, so will expire in 2023. We have now requested additional buses for the next school year. One non-contractual cost in our budget is fuel. That is variable. We sort of have the amount in this year as a placeholder, and the actual fuel cost will be available from May of 2021 once we complete the bid process for that. One slight reduction that we'll see in our budget is for sped out of district. This decrease reflects the elimination of transportation for students who no longer enroll in our programs, as well as taking advantage of some sharing opportunities. So that is a reduction there. We continue to work on the installation of our GPS tablets on buses, which is new. We've been working on with Durham. We hope to roll that program out in 2021, which will be really efficient with regard to return reduction. The drivers, particularly when there's spare drivers on who aren't familiar with routes and things like that. So I'm really excited about that. And we should, as I said, be a pilot program to roll out about 10 of those next year, which will cover all of our spare buses. Any questions anyone has? I'm happy to answer them.
All right, anyone with a question for Mrs. Perkins?
Dawn, I'm just curious, how many monitors does that $254,000 represent?
We're about 24, 25 monitors this year.
And those ride on the buses, correct, with the drivers?
They ride on the buses, and those monitors include all of our in-district monitors as well as monitors for all of our out-of-district placements.
Well, it's very good because I know how necessary they are to one.
They are all of our, even all of our preschool tech buses all have monitors. All of our special education buses have monitors, in and out of district as well.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
No, nice job.
Thank you.
No? Anyone else have a question?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Perkins. I just want to thank all the presenters from Thursday and tonight. You all have done a really fine job for us. You presented the information clearly with concise explanations. We all appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, we are on other, and we have included an agenda item that we're adding, and it is the capital plan. So we're going to have Paul and John speak to this. And I don't know if Dr. Semmel wants to speak to this also.
First off, I'd like to thank John for helping me do this. We just got the template yesterday from Town Hall. And John worked long hours to compile it. I'll take full blame for this stage. All credit to him. And it's easily editable, so if the board desires to change anything, we could do that and have that updated quickly.
Okay.
And not being a facilities expert, if you could direct your questions to John on specific items.
Well, John, the only thing I want to say is that this came up before with Mr. King, and they're talking about the Wellness Fitness Center.
Correct.
That weight room at Trumbull High School should have been done in the building when we were doing the building renovation, and we didn't have enough money to finish that. They took the money back, so that room, I think, was built in 1974. So it's still, there have been some adjustments to it, but it's far from what it should be. So I understand why Mr. King wrote what he did there, but he is looking at different ways that we can probably get that fixed, right? We're looking at different things where we can go up or down, because the PE classes are going to use that. It's going to not only coaching and not only sports, it'll be curricular classes that come in there too. So I know that's a lot of money, but I'm glad that you put it down so people understand that that needs to be done. So thank you for doing that.
I did look back at some previous.
Go closer, John, to the mic.
I did look back to some previous minutes from other meetings, and I did see that that number was a solid number, but they did also recommend about 35,000 for design. So if you want to add that to this year, to put $35,000 in this year, at least to come up with a design plan, and we can get some ducks in a row and move forward for next year for the 1.1.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
May I add- Yeah, being on the facilities for over a dozen years, we looked at this very carefully. It's only been the last couple of years we took the weight room, if they call it a weight room, and turned it into a classroom. We installed the smart boards. There's actually instruction going on in that classroom. It's all changed, and we've playing, and Lucinda's been on the committee also, back and forth for several years now. I'm taking a hard look at some outside consultant. We've also got a lot of in-kind service from past graduates of the high school who helped and looked at this very carefully the last couple of years. And it's not something that's new. It's something that has to be done soon. We hope it maybe, if not this year, next year or the following year. Anybody who wants to visit that room, be our guest. I'm sure the principal of high school will be glad to give him a walkthrough. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome. Anyone with a question on any of these?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Sorry, Mr. Gallo.
Thank you. So John, I'm looking at the auditorium improvements.
Yes.
And we're at 175,000, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you illuminate a little bit what some of those improvements
Sure.
might be?
Yeah, we want to improve the aisle lighting, and that's the cost to replace about 76 defective or missing fixtures on the sides of the aisle seats. The video projection system, cost to replace the obsolete video projector system and projection screen. Audio system upgrade, cost to correct audio system issues and replace defective components. And the theatrical lighting system repairs, cost to replace defective dimmer modules for the lighting system, as well as to design and raise the lighting platform at the rear, at the main entrance of the auditorium.
And were those improvements derived from some of the reports that were sent in? I know Everett worked on
Yes.
part of that.
Yep, I met with Everett and I believe Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little concerned about some of that lighting that you mentioned in the aisles and things. I don't think they were originally going forward, but I'm very encouraged to hear that some of those things are now being added to this, because I know that there's some safety issues involved with that.
Correct.
So that sounds great. All of those boxes were kind of ticked on my list as you went through it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with a question?
Yes, Jackie Norcell. John, just for clarification, because when you presented your budget and I looked at 612, it just says the cooling tower at Frenchtown, 70,000. Then I look at the capital budget and it says Frenchtown, it says the same thing, cooling tower, and it says 150,000. Now, is it going to cost us 150 plus 70? Or is the 70 doing something to the tower and this is something else? I'm just confused, so.
Clarify that. So the cooling tower, there's 2 towers there actually. And
Okay.
the part of the cooling towers that are failing are the lower sections. So in order to replace the lower sections, you have to get a crane and remove the upper sections in order to replace the lower sections. And the contractor I met out there recommended if you're going to go through all that work to replace the lower section, you might as well replace the upper section as well. And that's where you would come up with the 170.
So that's why there's 2 figures. All right, one for the bottom, one for the top. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Scott.
Okay.
John, could you just speak to the approach to replacing roofs, right? Because they're big items, and right now this plan calls to do 3 of them in the coming year. And so I was just curious: is there a financial benefit to doing 3 in a year, or could or should one of those be pushed out?
Well, Jane Ryan got pushed from last year to this year. 3 is probably biting off a little too much. And if I had to kick one across to the following year, I would recommend Middlebrook. Jane Ryan and Booth Hill, they're sister schools and they're comparable in size. And I feel confident that both those schools could be completed in one summer. And I think there was a question regarding doing the paving simultaneously with that roof.
Yeah, just scheduling wise, is that possible?
Well, with the paving project, Scott, the first year they do the curbs, drainage, and sidewalks. So they'll do that one summer. And then the following summer, they come in and they actually reclaim and pave. So they can do the curbs, the drainage, and the sidewalks in conjunction with the roof replacement. It wouldn't hamper it.
Okay, so should some of that 1.35 million be in the next year, or do we put all the capital money in one year and just spend it over 2?
I met with the town engineer and he recommended putting it in this year, and I believe they would take some of that and move it to the following year for the paving. That's my understanding. I think can't really speak to that, but I believe that's how that's done.
Okay.
Just a footnote, Madam Chairman, on the Booth Hill and Jane Ryan roof, I was principal when they replaced the Booth Hill Jane Ryan summer. Both schools were done because they got a favorable bid for 2 schools at once. That's why we did both schools, Jane Ryan and Booth Hill. The old school is down. That's one of the reasons.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, it's Vicky Tesoro, the first selectman. Good evening, everybody. I know, I guess you're looking at the capital plan, the 5-year plan.
Yes.
Is there any way that could be shared to the screen? Because no one else has that document, I don't think. So we don't know really what you're discussing. So if you could share it, it'd be helpful.
I don't know if we can share it right now, Michelle.
I don't have it.
No, I already wrote on mine.
We got a memo today. Well, the facilities committee has had that capital, Madam Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the facilities committee had, the last several years have had this capital plan. Originally it was 5 years, and then we said, wait a minute, the selectman wants a 10-year program. So we revised it and did it over 10 years, which you're looking at right now is the 5-year. The items haven't changed that much, just possibly the cost. The facilities committee has the copy.
I understand that, Mike. It's just that no one can see or what you're
That's true, right.
So it's hard to understand what the conversation. That's all.
Madam Chair, Jackie, could Dr. Semmel or Paul just forward the email to Vicky, since we all received it today as an email?
Yes,
I mean,
I'm sure she can do that.
Hi, Jackie. Just so you know, I just had the same idea. I actually sent it to Michelle Mermina so that Michelle Mermina could actually present it. So I believe what I'm what I just sent to Michelle is the correct updated version. If there was any additional changes that I'm not aware of, then we could talk about those. But I think Michelle should have that now and can share it.
Sure, just give me a minute. I'm gonna go black for a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for doing that. Oh, Marty, thank you. That was you. Okay, while we're waiting for that, are there any other questions for John Morello on any of the other schools? And Mike Ward is correct. Most of these things have been here for a while, and we're trying.
We talked about it, but we don't really, I don't want to go into detail.
Yeah, I think that was one of the observations that I made, was that our
Scott, yeah.
capital request last year had begun around 4.3 million, and we ended up getting, just shy of 2. So there are a lot of projects piling up here. So I hate to defer any of them, but John, can you just reiterate again, if we felt like we had to defer one of the 3 roofs, it would be Middlebrook that you would?
Correct.
And I think that's because Mike made it clear that we did this once in the past when they did Jane Ryan and Booth Hill, and putting it to bid, he said he brought in a good price.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Okay, we're sharing. Just let me know where you want me to be.
Okay, Michelle has it up there.
Vicky, are you able to see that now?
Yes, I can. I just want everyone to be able to see what you're looking at, so I appreciate that.
Anyone else with a question?
Scott, if you want to take a swap at this, take a look at this, just go down school by school, give the people, the public an audience, what's under 2021 only.
Yep, that would be fine. So why don't we, Michelle, why don't we plan to scroll through the document? Our capital plan is organized by school building, or actually facility. And so it starts with the 2 middle schools. So at Hillcrest, we're proposing $132,000 worth of projects for the coming year. Interestingly, our capital plans are expressed in calendar years as opposed to school years, which is why we're looking today at calendar year 2021. Madison Middle School has only got an asbestos project for $75,000. If you scroll down for me, Michelle, thank you. Middlebrook, there's the roof replacement for 1.5 million that we were just talking about, possibly being able to be deferred until the following year. Daniels Farm has no project scheduled for next year, but a big one coming in the following year, redoing the parking lot. And I believe, can somebody, when we do the paving and such, those are projects that we partner with the town on, isn't that correct, John?
Yes, it is, Scott.
Yeah. So we leverage the terrific resources of the town, who has lots of experience and equipment to do those jobs. Jane Ryan Elementary is currently proposed at 2.7 million. There's the overlapping parking lot and roof that I was referring to. And I don't know what a single bottom cylinder up. Oh, that's the elevator. Okay, that makes sense. So an elevator repair. Booth Hill at 1.325 is a roof and asbestos. Toshua has nothing. I hadn't noticed that earlier. Thank you for going through this. Frenchtown is those are the cooling towers that that Jackie was asking about. Tech has nothing for this year, but a boiler replacement for the following year. And the Agri-Science School, we're requesting boiler replacements for $275,000. And these actually have been discussed in prior facilities committee meetings. that John is prioritizing these boilers even over the greenhouse roof that is even experiencing some leaking at this point, but it's manageable.
Excuse me, Scott, there's 6 boilers in that building, 4 for the main building and 2 for the greenhouse section. And one of the boilers for the greenhouse section is down. So if the existing boiler goes down, there'll be no heat in that section.
So that's a great point. Thank you, John. Can you just be specific? So is this 275? How many boilers does $275,000 buy?
The main building as well as the greenhouse. That's for the 6.
So all of them, though?
Correct.
All 6 boilers. Okay. Thank you very much. At Trumbull High School, there are the auditorium improvements that Mr. Gallo was referencing, cooling tower. Vehicles is the next category. We talked about those. And then at Long Hill, the thing that we're looking to do is to improve the parking lot, which is a hazard.
Yes.
And I presume that building the data center at the high school is to get equipment out of Long Hill. Is that correct? If Jeff is on the line or if John knows?
Correct. I'm not very familiar with the data center. I know that has been a topic over the past year or so, and I can certainly try to get more information on that. But from what I understand is they wanted to move it from here to a location at the high school. I don't know where.
Is there room for that?
I could look, Lucinda, in some facts, in some old notes or paperwork in facilities, but I don't have any.
The conversation, I think, is the fact that they want to put it into a safe, secure area, and the high school is better than Long Hill.
I understand that, Mike, but the high school has limited space for different things. So I'm a little concerned about where this would be and what it would take up, and if it's taking room from something else.
Sure.
So I don't
know if it could be done in conjunction with the wellness center.
Well, no, I don't think so, because
No,
the
but
wellness
that-
center, if they go up, no. Because remember, those classes, there are a lot of kids in those classes. So every period, somebody is having there's a class there. So if they were looking at doing something up, moving up, so it'd be a 2-story.
Yeah, 2-story.
Yeah, no, there's no room there. And I know what's there. You have the trainer's office there. You have all the offices right there. So I'm really concerned. I don't know where they're gonna put that. So let me know.
I think one of the other factors was that the high school already has some of the necessary cooling systems, that are required for all the equipment, like because of the TV studios there and stuff, and also the generator. The whole building generator is there. So it's probably why they're focused on the high school, but to Cinda's point, we have to have the space. And then the last item on the plan is some design work around the parking lot at the bus garage. And this was already deferred 1 year. So, and that all rolls up to $7.184 million worth of capital requests.
Anyone with a question?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the 5-year capital plan.
Can you wait 1 second? I think Mr.
Okay.
wants to say something. 1 second. Go ahead.
There was discussion about adding 35,000 for design work for the wellness center.
Yes,
Do you want to include that?
I think we should. John, do you agree?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to
Before we
add
make
that to
that,
the capital
let's,
plan.
Yeah, he wanted to add the 35,000 for design. That's their wellness center.
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
Sorry?
I said I'll make that motion, Madam Chair, to add that to the capital plan for
Okay,
fiscal
thank
year
you. I need a second.
2021.
I need a second.
Second.
10 seconds. Okay, gonna take the vote. Tim,
I'm in favor.
Maureen, Mike Ward,
Yes.
Jackie Norso,
Yes.
Scott Karen,
Yes.
Andy Payla,
In favor.
and Lucinda Timpinelli in favor. It's unanimous. Thank you.
The other.
Okay, wait 1 second. 2 people are speaking. Go ahead.
The final total for 2021 now is $7,219,000.
$7,219,000. That's the total. Okay.
And that includes moving Middlebrook's roof to next year?
No, I don't think we've done that yet. I think, I mean, I think, John, if you believe that that's a feasible change, I would make a motion to defer the Middlebrook roof replacement from 2021 to 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got that?
I have a little discussion there.
Little discussion.
So if we go ahead and do that, Middlebrook also had some other things that they obviously were not doing because they had that big amount there for their roof. So would we maybe move some of those other items in place of this? For instance, the panel structure, the solar installation, the parking lot and driveway paving. I know that's probably a big one, but the asbestos with the flooring and the insulation, can we move some of those in place?
Well, we couldn't move the solar because we'd have to do the roof before the solar.
Okay, that makes sense.
The paving is already complete. The paving, sidewalk, and drainage is complete at Middlebrook. The only thing I could suggest for Middlebrook is additional rooftop unit replacements. We just had to replace one on an emergency basis for the media center that was about 25 years old, and we had to get that turned around in about 5 days because there was no heat. So if you'd like me to look at adding some rooftop unit replacements, that would probably be more feasible than.
John,
How many do you need?
Would that make sense to do that before we replace the roof?
Yes, that wouldn't matter either way.
Okay.
And how many would you need? 1 or 2?
There's more than 2 there, Lucinda. There's probably 3 there, but I could confirm that tomorrow.
Anyone else with a discussion on this?
Madam Chairman, why don't we make, Madam Chairman,
Yes, Jim.
why don't we leave the Middlebrook funding in there for its roof? This is just a suggested list to the town, which we'll have to sit down and discuss. They will add or they will remove. Let's leave it as it is for now, instead of trying to pick and choose what's next year, this year. I think if we leave it alone for a while, we'll see what happens. That's all my suggestion.
I would counter that we want to make a responsible request, and not that all these things aren't necessary. And I wouldn't necessarily add something back just so that Middlebrook has a project. Daniels Farm doesn't have a project this year.
Yeah.
Oshawa doesn't. Like, this isn't about equitable spending across these buildings. This is doing the projects that we need to do. And I just feel like, a number over $7 million is, it's a big number, and I think we should do whatever we can to defer it.
Well, the original proposal was done, we have no engineers right now working at the facilities committee, nor do we have any director of operations at the facility. So this is a suggested amount at each of these schools. Until we find someone who's going to be the operation director, it may all change, but the town needs to have an idea what the Board of Ed is thinking about. That's my only suggestion. I'll leave it open. You're the chairman of the facilities.
Well, we'll vote on the motion. So I'm not going to make
a motion on it. We have a motion to Tim made it to take this $1,500,000 and break it down. I don't know how everybody feels about that. I know how Mike feels about that right now. So I need to take a vote and see what we got. Okay.
The motion was to defer the 1.5 to 2022.
No, I talked about it in discussion. I didn't put a motion to change it.
Right.
The motion on the floor currently is to drop the $1,500,000 and defer it to next year. That's the motion that
Right, that's Scott's, yes, that's Scott.
Okay. So there you go.
So Madam Chair,
Yes.
so if you move the 1.5 million to 22, now you're looking at 7.9 million of capital improvements in 22. Just want to point that out. So I know it's 7.1 this year for 21, but you're going to be even more in 22. Just want to point that out before anyone votes.
Thank you. Okay.
Might be.
Does everyone understand?
It might make sense to leave it where it is at the keeping this year at the 71 and next year a little less. I see what Andy is pointing
I
out.
would agree with you on that, Jackie. And again, that's part of the discussion. So I do feel like the vote is on for the removing the 1,500,000 or keeping it. And then there could be another motion about the whole capital plan request. But I think the motion on the floor right now is whether we keep the 1.5 or we get rid of, or we defer it to next year. So if there's any more discussion on that, let's have it. And if not, then why don't we try and vote on that?
Okay. All right, so let's say the motion again. So everybody understands.
So it's Scott's motion, actually.
Scott, say your
I've made a motion to defer the roof replacement at Middlebrook from 2021 to 2022.
Okay, and now we're gonna take a vote, okay? Tim?
No, I'm not in favor. I think that we should keep it for now.
Okay, Marie?
I'll go along with that.
Okay, Mike?
No.
Okay, Jackie?
No.
No. Scott?
Yes.
Okay, Andy?
I'm going to vote against it just because I think it makes 22 too high.
Okay. He's gonna say no, so it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 no's and 1 yes, okay? So that fails, okay. All right, we're gonna move on now.
Mike, you were about to do a motion for the whole plan just a little before this one, so maybe you can make that motion now and then have a discussion if needed.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion, but I think before I make the motion, historically speaking, in 10+ years, this request is a request. And the bottom line, you always get a negotiated period where they sit down and figure out just how much they can do in 1 year. So it's, if you look at the last 5 years, some of these things have been asked for and some we get, some we don't get. So I'd rather leave it to the town, sitting down with our superintendent to decide what is the best for the system. That's the only reason. I'll make the motion to accept the proposed 5-year capital expenditure.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
I seconded or.
Tim Gallo, just a second. Okay, I'm gonna take the vote. Tim?
I'm in favor.
In favor. Marie? In favor. Mike?
Yes.
In favor. Jackie?
In favor.
In favor. Scott?
Yes, in favor.
In favor. Andy?
In favor.
In favor. And Lucinda in favor. Okay, so that will pass and we'll send this on. Okay, thank you, John Merle. Thank you, Paul, for helping us get through this and explaining what you did. And then we'll see how it goes when it goes on from this point on. Thank you. Okay. We are done with our agenda. Michael?
And before we break away, just a question on 7.7, the blue lines that are listed there. What that suggests it was reduced from last year to this year, or something we're talking about putting in for this year for next year. I must have missed it when we first had a presentation last Tuesday. Could someone explain to me what that the blue lines in 7.7 mean?
Those I believe, Mike, were the reductions from last year. That somewhere along the line we said we wanted to make sure everybody knew what had been cut from the prior year.
And when we put the line through it, this is what we're asking for this year budget. Is that it, Scott? Some of them have lines, you know, there's a line through it saying.
That means that they were actually restored.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Thank you very much.
The original, this was the master list of all the
I
cuts.
thought so. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't have a chance to ask that question. Thank you very much. Madam Chairman, I will make a motion to we adjourn.
Wait, do we have a meeting Tuesday?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah.
Well, let's, all right.
Before we finish, I
I'll
wanna
hold the
know-
motion.
Too many people speaking at once. I can't hear. So I need to have one person speak at once. Okay.
I'll hold.
Lucinda, I had a
Okay,
question
you can hear.
before we close for the night.
Jackie, go ahead.
before we close this meeting, are we meeting on Tuesday for a board meeting?
It's up to
I
the
think we need to meet on Tuesday. Where's Dr. Semmel?
Yeah, so from a budget standpoint, we had held the Tuesday for a budget meeting, but we weren't sure if we were going to need it. However, I did let the board members know a while back that if we didn't need it for a budget meeting, we should hold it for round 3 interviews for the assistant superintendent position. So it'd be my recommendation that we keep the 15th and that we would hold interviews for finalist for the assistant superintendent position. First round starts tomorrow. We can look at which exact time you'd like to start, what would work best for the board. I'd be happy to look at, it doesn't have to start at 7 or 6:30. It could start earlier or whatever the preference on the board would be. I just need to post it.
All right, well, we don't have what we're saying is we don't need a regular budget meeting. That's what we're talking about right now, correct?
I agree.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. So there will not be a regular budget meeting on December 15th. And Dr. Semmel will let us know how he's proceeding with these interviews, and we will hear that information. And the other thing I want to say is, since we won't be meeting again, wish everyone a happy holiday season, healthy, stay safe, and be careful. Okay, Mr. Ward,
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
thank you. Second?
Second.
Tim, second. Thank you and good night.